Now, in a move branded as provocative by Beijing, U.S. lawmakers are pushing to rename a street in front of the Chinese embassy in Washington after an imprisoned Chinese Nobel Peace Prize winner. Those behind it say their goal is to inspire human rights activists in the country. But as RT's Gayane Chichakyan reports, they may have an ulterior motive.
A group of 13 members of Congress have sent out a letter to the mayor of Washington, D.C. and the City Council asking them to rename the street in front of the Chinese embassy here in Washington after a Chinese dissident, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, Liu Xiaobo. He is now in jail in China. There is a group in Washington that encourages policymakers to rename streets in front of embassies of states that the U.S. wants to snub after dissidents in those countries, so that every time somebody sends or receives a letter from that embassy, they would be reminded of that person. So some lawmakers here got really excited about this idea with regard to the Chinese embassy and wrote this letter. The letter says the timing is auspicious. It says this modest effort would undoubtedly give hope to the Chinese people who continue to yearn for basic human rights and representative democracy. Well, whether the timing is really that favorable considering the strained U.S.-Chinese relations, I asked the U.S. State Department. They said they know nothing about the letter.
Congress wants to name the street in front of the Chinese embassy after jailed Nobel Prize winner and dissident Liu
The embassy
Xiaobo.
here in Washington.
Right, here in are you at all worried
Clearly I'm not aware of that.
China might not like it?
I'm happy to check. I hadn't been aware of that.
But the Chinese called the idea disrespectful and provocative. Most recently, the U.S. Justice Department charged 5 Chinese military officers for hacking into the computers of 6 U.S. corporations. It's clear that these officers will never actually be prosecuted. It was largely seen as a symbolic gesture. And the idea to rename the street after a Chinese dissident too is seen as a symbolic pinch. In Washington, I'm Gayane Chichakyan, RT.
Analyst George Koo from International Strategic Alliances told RT that the U.S. is playing a childish game instead of sorting out bigger problems.
It's a very infantile message. In America, we have this expression, jerking their chain, and I think Congressman Wolf and Congresswoman Pelosi was doing exactly that. But you know, it also reflects on something that reflects very badly on U.S. Congress. What it shows is that they're not able to get together and work together in national interest on the truly big issues that the U.S. government and the U.S. is facing, like the deficit spending or national debt or ending the war in Afghanistan and the Middle East. But they can get together on this very petty issue just to annoy the Chinese. And, you know, it seems like they have the priorities all wrong in trying to do this kind of silly little maneuver.